The green one, okay. We are from the Dutch Hemophilia Society, and we want to thank Novo Nordisk for inviting us and get us the opportunity to tell you something about us and how we are living with hemophilia and with other bleeding disorders. I'm 56 years old. Oh, sorry, I have to look there. I'm 56 years old. I have severe hemophilia and less than 1%. And I worked for 29 years at the University of Nijmegen as a laboratory technician in hemophilia. Yeah, we have something with blood, you stay in blood. So I'm a laboratory technician in hematology, and I worked on the blood transfusion department of that hospital. For 10 years I was a member of the Hemophilia Society board, and now I'm 2 years with the Liver Patients Society, also in the hepatitis working party, because we had from the past a lot of, how do you say, relation gifts from the donor, and we have something like hepatitis C, hepatitis B, HIV, and luckily I'm at the moment cured from hepatitis C with the new direct-acting antivirals, and after I think about 35, 40 years, I'm cured now from that virus. My motto for the blood relatives is blood on the road. Not really, but a little bit. The green one.
It's a green button. Well, I'm Evelyn, I'm 29 years old. I don't have hemophilia, but I have one of the rare bleeding disorders called Glanzmann thrombostemia, and that's a platelets disorder. I work at the most beautiful museum of the Netherlands. It's the best visited museum outside Amsterdam, and my motivation is to work to get more attention for women in bleeding disorders. And beside that, of course, I like to go out with my friends, cooking and singing. And for our project, my motto is, if you can dream it, you can do it. So I hope I will fulfill this dream. During our presentation, I will first tell something more about bleeding disorders, and Chris will tell something about our society, and at least I will come back to you with about talking about a cycling project. People with a bleeding disorder has problem to make a blood clot properly, and it can be in different areas. You can have something with your platelets, and then you have a platelet disorder that can be Glanzmann thrombostemia or BNSVA. These are very rare bleeding disorders. For instance, hemophilia, we have about 1,800 in the Netherlands, but with Glanzmann we have about 20 people, and worldwide there are about 2,200. The most well-known bleeding disorder is hemophilia. We talk a lot about it. The most common is von Willebrand disease. And there are a lot of small groups with bleeding disorders where we don't know much about. But I think it's very important to get more attention and also treatment for them. People with a bleeding disorder can have lots of bruises without the right treatment, but also bleeding from the gum, from the joints, from the muscles. And women with bleeding disorders can have problems with having their period. I come back to you, Chris.
Okay, the Dutch Hemophilia Society. We have a mission about promoting the welfare of persons with hemophilia and other related blood disorders in general, and the members in particular. And we are promoting scientific research regarding to hemophilia and related blood disorders. We are doing that by peer support. We are helping other people to talk about their disease and to help them and support them in how it's going on with their disease. For instance, when we had once a meeting, and there was a young couple coming in with a child, about 4, 5, 6 months old. And then the mother was looking around to all the old guys, some in wheelchairs, some walking with a stick, and she had something like, what's this, what's this? And I said, wait, I fetch you one of the young ones. Look, this is how the treating is going. And then she said, oh, it's not that, but that's what my son will be. That's what we're trying to make for the other people and to show them how it's going now with hemophilia. We also do that with advocacy, trying to be a voice to the government, trying to be a voice to the insurance companies. We have to do a lot of talks about what's the price of the product, but how are we doing? We are trying to get all the things together to get a good collaboration with each other, to get good treatment for a good price. We want to give knowledge to everyone who wants to know about hemophilia. And the other bleeding disorders, like for instance what Evelyn is telling, there's so much not known and so much not seen in what's happening. So that's very nice that we can do that as a society. Stimulating research, trying to get more research about hemophilia is already a lot known about, but for the rare bleeding disorders we want to do more, that there is more research. Yeah, what's my motivation? I'm 56 years old, I already told, but when I was born, there was no treatment. They know what it was. And they gave me fresh blood, they gave me fresh plasma. But when I would get older, the treatment developed. And by that development, I get better. I could go to school, I could get a job. It was all with the improvement of the treatment, my life was getting better. And we are even in Holland having a kind of questionnaire we are sending around from about the 70s until now, and every 5 or 6 years we ask the patients, how are you doing? In all kinds of ways. And we can show with them to the government, look, this is with good treatment, we can be a very good member of the society. And all the things we can do, we can work, we go to school, we can be a full member of the total society that's going on. I am also doing it for my daughter. She's a carrier. And when she's 13 at the moment, and when she will have a son, there's a chance he will get hemophilia. And my motivation is that guy, if he ever will be born, I do not know, then that he will never reach the joint stadium that I am in at the moment. I have already my right ankle replaced. It looked like mountain shoes, and I can still walk good, but even with a stick. So that is what I'm doing it for. And I want to give my input in good information for a good treatment that is possible in the Netherlands, and that there will be a better life for the patient, and also for the ones with the rare other bleeding disorders.
Well, my motivation starts when I was in my puberty. I had a lot of bleedings during having my period. I got into the hospital, out in the hospital, back home. It was a tough time, and I started to realize how my bleeding disorder affects my life. I also started getting questions about my bruises. People thought that I may be abused. And of course, my parents had the questions when I was younger, but now they ask it myself. And I get the need to get in contact with other patients and to share experience. I told you my disease is very rare, so I couldn't find a lot of information. And also sometimes my doctors had the question and didn't know how to treat it well. and that motivates me to get involved into the society, to share this information, but also to try to get more attention in my own country, but also worldwide, and especially for the women, because hemophilia is a real man's world, and it can be affect only men, they said. We know that the women, the carriers, can have a lot of problems also, but for the rare bleeding disorder, it affects men and women, and we don't know enough of that. And of course, with the project where I come by with you, we want to show why sports is important to do. Well, 2 years ago, we started to think how can we do in a different way to get more attention for people with bleeding disorders, and not only in our own community, but also outside. And we started thinking about it, and we thought we have to do something special, something different. And we thought, why aren't we going to cycle, a cycle trip? In the Netherlands, a cycle country, such as Denmark is, why can we better do that? We want to get the attention for people with bleeding disorders. We want to show them how it is to have it, but also want to show them what kind of possibilities you have. Well, cycling is a very suitable sport for people with bleeding disorders. It gives you strong muscles, and having strong muscles gives you also less risk to get a bleed in it, but also to recover better. And of course, sport is for everyone good to have a good health. But for people with a chronic illness, it's very important to recover better from injuries. And cycling is better than contact sports, because if you play soccer or hockey, you can bump to another person, or you can get hit with a ball, and it can give you more bleeds. Well, we form a team, and we have found 8 people together to cycle a tour. We have 3 women and 5 men with all different kind of bleeding disorders. So we have people with hemophilia A, hemophilia B, von Willebrand disease, but also with Glanzmann thrombasthenia and Bernard-Saillet, some rare disease. We have 2 team captains who will follow us by car and support us on the road. And the age is between 21 and 68. The oldest one who is going to cycle is 54. Our goals is to get more recognition and awareness in our community, and more involvement from people who are members of our society. But we also want to tell them that it's important to sport and to be active, to exercise, to improve your health and to get more stable. And all our all our team members will collect money, and this funding we will use to improve peer support in the Netherlands, but also a part we will give to other countries so they can improve their society or their healthcare in their country. To reach our goals, we have to do some activities. And next Sunday on World Hemophilia Day, we will cycle together with the team, but also with some members. And in total, we're about 20 people who are going to cycle a tour. And we launch our project to a wider group. During our family camp in June, we're going to do a 24-hour challenge. We are very happy that the youths are very happy to do it at night, so we can sleep more and pick it up in the morning. We have some articles in newspapers. We have had already a radio interview, and we try to get attention by poster at our treatment centers, but also to flyer and have stickers. We have a Facebook page where we post our updates every 2-3 times a week. And every month we have a challenge, an exercise challenge that people can join us with. And of course we give presentations like this to tell people about it. Well, here we have a picture during our last European Congress. We had the plank challenge at that time. And after dinner we planked with other bleeders all around Europe. Some facts: the distance from Utrecht, where we start, it's in the middle of the Netherlands, to the Stavanger is about 1,300 kilometers, and we will cycle 1,000 of it, a big part through Denmark. We will cycle about 90 kilometers a day, and it will take 2.5 weeks. You have some resting days to recover from the days. And finally, we end up in Stavanger, and there we have the European Hemophilia Congress, where all hemophilia patient organizations around Europe come together to share experience and information. And of course, we burn a lot of calories. We have different places where you can find us. We have a website, we have a translation in English as well. We have a Facebook page. Please follow us. We like to have more likes. We try to translate there as much as we can in English as well. And we have a special page where you can donate per person, but also for the whole project. Well, we want to thank you for the invitation and thank you for listening. And if there are any questions, you can ask them. All clear.
How is your disease different from hemophilia A and B?
My disease is different from hemophilia A and B because it's a different stage in your bleeding process. I have a plate. Normally, if you have a bleeding, first the platelets are activated, clump together and make a platelets plug, and then all clotting factors are activated, and they make it stronger and keep it longer at the place. People with hemophilia seems to stop bleeding first, but after a while it starts over again, and they have a lot of bleeding in the joints and in the muscles. If I have a bleeding, you see it immediately, I don't have the joint and the muscle bleedings, but I have a lot of bruises, and most of the problems is the nosebleeds, the bleeds of the gum, and for women the menstruation. And the difference is that I don't have medication, but hemophiliacs have. If I have a big bleeding, I need a platelets transfusion, but I don't want to give it because of the higher chance of antibodies.
How does it affect your life having the disease?
Well, I always say it's every day. It's every day there. And when I stand up, see myself in the mirror, see my bruises. If I brush my teeth, I got the blood. I can have a very, I think, almost a normal life beside the bruises. And that's all because I don't have a period anymore because they stopped it because of the heavy bleeding. But if I would have, it would affect my life more because you get a hemorrhagia, and then it would be much difficult to work because you have to get more ill. But for Chris, it will be it is different, I think.
Yeah, for me, it's like you see that I'm walking difficult, and that makes it difficult to do some things because walking a long distance is a problem for me, and that I can even get a bleed if I wake up in the morning. I cannot use my elbow, for instance, and that is for me very difficult to live with because you cannot do at one moment, you can't do nothing more. So that's for me, and for instance that happens in your ankles or
Can you tell us a little bit about your medication? I know you get some, but how does it affect you? How does it help you?
I had in the past there were the products from plasma derived, And when I feel a bleed, I can administer it to myself, and then it ebbs away. When I feel a bleed, it's starting with pain. It's difficult to move, and it's even the last years my bleeds are getting worse. I do not know why that is. Yeah, I once said to my doctor, I have at the moment elbow bleeds that looks when I was feels like when I was a boy of about 5, 6, 7 years. That's a lot of. I cannot say what's happening in me, why that it's that the bleeds are so severe at the moment again. I had a period that it was, no, when I feel it, I could treat it, and then it was going away. And now I, for instance, have problems. When I feel it, I treat, and I have to call the hospital. I said, I treat, but it doesn't react. And then they say, okay, treat more. And that is how I'm doing it. And luckily, in the past, I had to go every time to the hospital. That wasn't, yeah. When there was a party, or it would be Christmas Eve, I had a bleed. We had to go to the hospital. When I had my birthday, I get a bleed, we had to go to the hospital. But luckily, the treatment improved, so I learned to infuse myself. So that was a kind of eye-opener I never thought of, that would be possible to do it. And even the doctor said to me, okay, when you treat it at home, go out of the hospital. Don't come to us. And luckily, we learn, as a patient, you learn more about your own disease. And luckily, I see also, I saw children from about 8 infusing themselves on the camps, which Evelyn told. There were children from 8, 9, 10 years, and they saw older guys infusing themselves. They said, if they can do it, I can do it too. So that's nice to. And when I treat myself at home, that was so. I could even go on holidays. Otherwise, you had to visit a hospital in the neighborhood where you were on holiday. And when you can treat yourself, you can go on a holiday. I come a lot in Denmark on my holiday. Then I took the treatment with me, and I can do it on myself. And I'm not so I sat in front of my caravan, and I was admitting it to myself, and then the children were coming by and look, what's that guy doing? They were Danish, I couldn't understand them, but and then in the evening they came with their parents, and then they said, that's the guy who's doing okay, but that's how things, for me it's so normal, and for my children it's also normal. I had a kind of flight case where everyone is in, and my children, I had once a very bad bleed in my elbow, and then my daughter said, oh, Dad, wait, I'll help you. And everything I need, she perfectly know what I need. And then I couldn't inject myself once very good. And I injected, and then she said, give me the syringe, I'll help you. So it's so normal in our life. And it's because it's your blood, it's in everything. When I visit the dentist, I had a large thing on my head that had to be removed. There's blood involved. Everywhere where blood is involved, you have to. And then I come to the doctor for removing that thing on my head, and I said, "Do you know that I'm hemophilia?" And I said, "I'm not on an exam now, eh?" I said, "Okay, but maybe." Then he said, "Okay, maybe if I use another knife with heat and." That would be maybe better for a hemophiliac. Wait a little bit, I'll get the things. So you have to be, as a patient, very alert. That always tell what is the matter with you. Then the other caregiver can do his thing with a hemophiliac and think about that he is treating a hemophiliac. I have a dentist who likes all those coagulation problems, so he has now more hemophiliacs in his practice. So, and when I come, he said, "How is it going with your treatment? And do you have your prophylaxis now this day?" And he always makes an appointment with me on my prophylaxis day, so I do not have to admit more than necessary. So if you find such caregivers around you, that's good. And you have to be, but mostly we as a society say, be open about what is the matter with you. Tell it. When I get a girlfriend, I mostly tell her, when I was young, I tell her about what was the matter with me, what is the matter with me. And then, and why do I do that? Because when they say, "Ooh, it's an inherited disease," then I do not have to put any energy in such a girl. And it's for her even better not to get involved with me. So it's in everything. You have, and I have the experience when I tell people very quick what's the matter with me, then they very quick accept it. It's okay, that's with him. Okay. It's always with me. Yeah? Oh.
I was thinking that the bicycle tour that you're taking seems like quite a big thing, and I'm wondering what kind of precautions do you need to take that other healthy people don't have to think about?
I just can cycle. That's not the issue. But we got our bike last week, and normally I cycle on just a city bike, a women's city bike. And now I have a sporty bike with something between my legs. Sounds a bit strange. But I'm not really used to that. And now I get by just biking had all bruises inside of my legs by hitting it. But also on my butt because of the of the saddle. Yeah. And for some other people, it depends on what kind of bleeding disorder you have, but we have a patient with hemophilia B, and he was exercising on his new bike, and he told me they're kind of sporty, not racing bikes, but it looks like that he gets some injuries in his
Wrist.
In his wrist. So there are still that is still has some I'm sorry. It still isn't easy to do. And I think we will have more challenges than we thought. I thought, I'm just going to bike and I will come there and I will see. But just after a week, I see that it has more involvement than I thought. So, yeah. We will see how it happens. And I hope I will make it to Stavanger with the hills and the wind. But, yeah.
We have to take, for instance, a lot of clotting factor with us, but we are from the University of Utrecht are helping us with sport physiology. They are helping us in getting how is it the best way to sit on a bike, and that's for everyone important, but for people with a clotting disorder it's also very important. And we have to find for the people with hemophilia that are on the bikes, to find the right way for them to get maybe another prophylactic scheme to be on when they are biking. We are hoping that that's not necessary. Mm-hmm. But it's also good, and that's why the university is also helping us to show that it's maybe not necessary. So that's we have a lot of things to take with us to treat the people if they have a bleed.
And that's why we have Chris with us.
Well, we wish you
Yeah.
best of luck
Yeah.
and success with the race, and we hope that we can encourage you on also when you get up through Denmark.
We start on the 21st of September, and we will be about 5 or 6 days later, we will cross the border. So if you want to see us...
You're more than welcome.
Thank you. Let's give Chris and Evelyn a hand.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that.